So, just also to say that at the end of this session, there will be a chance for you to ask your questions about the event that's going to be discussed. If you do have questions that occur to you throughout some of the talks, just put them in the chat. Or if you've got a burning question that you want to ask, just raise your hand. But as I said, there will be a chance for question and answers at the end of the session. So with no further ado, I'm now going to hand over to Simon Tranter, who's going to explain a little bit about what this event is all about. Thanks, Simon.
Thanks, Dee. Good morning to everybody. Great to see a number of people here, one or two familiar faces, a number of unfamiliar faces. For those that don't know me, I'm Simon Tranter. I head up the regeneration team at Walsall Council. Opportunity to talk to some of the communities of Walsall about this event is really exciting, and hopefully, as Dee said, by the end of the session, you will be equally excited and really keen to get involved. Now, a little bit of background, and I'm not going to talk about cycling to start off with, so we'll come back to that. But as we know, uncertain times at the moment with the current situation that we've had from a pandemic. Prior to that, some further challenges around retail, where we've seen a lot of shops close, and the general sort of state of the economy in both a national and a local context led to the council looking particularly at the town centre and Walsall High Street about what do we need to do, what can we do to try and redress some of the challenges that it faces. And we've all seen, as I say, a number of shops move out. We've got vacancies. It's not the town that people thought it was 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years ago, or whatever it was. But what do we do to address that? And there's been a lot that has happened in the last 10 years. We've seen huge amounts of investment in things like the new college, the housing up at the waterfront, and there's been other investments that have happened with the cinema, some retail that's come and gone over that time. But the council embarked just before the pandemic on the development of a town centre master plan that was really about how do we reimagine the town centre, and one that isn't as dependent upon retail anymore, but actually looks at how we build on some of the investment that's happened in, for example, the rail infrastructure, and the connectivity that Walsall's got to other places with the electrification of the rail line to Birmingham and beyond to the airport, the connections with the we had for a while, didn't we, the Walsall to London rail link. There's the reopening of the Walsall to Wolverhampton passenger line with stations at the heart of Darlaston's enterprise zone and the and Willenhall, which gives us opportunities to look at things very differently from that connectivity point of view, and perhaps greater levels of living in Walsall, but people having the opportunity to access work, etc., through some of that investment. We've seen investment in the highways with the congestion busting scheme going on at the moment at Junction 10, which will help people get around the borough, support businesses to locate themselves or to grow, with schemes like Phoenix 10, which is one of the biggest employment opportunities in the borough, actually coming forward on the old IMI Copperworks that many of you will know by Junction 10, and a series of other sites coming forward, new homes up at the former Caparo site and the Goscott Copperworks up on Goscott Lane. So there's lots happening despite some of the challenges. And one of the challenges I was given as leading that work was, how do we attract greater levels of footfall into the town centre? It's fine having, changing the town centre and investing in the public realm, as we've seen, but if people aren't coming, what is it we can do to attract people? And actually people remind themselves that Walsall perhaps isn't as bad as some people like to tell us that it is. And there are some great things that are going on there. We have some great assets, things like the art gallery, some of the buildings that we've got architecturally and heritage wise are really impressive. We've got lots of open spaces within the town centre, with Gallery Square, with the Market Square. The Arboretum is immediately adjacent to the town centre. There's lots of really good things. And how do we change that mood a little bit and sort of redress some of the negativity that we often see, to say, actually, yeah, we know things are tough, but Walsall's a great place and it's got a lot going for it. And how do we attract people? Well, what's the opportunity for us to put on some events, and events that perhaps as a borough we haven't done for a long time. Yes, we've had some specific events, whether it be Pride or whether it's some of the Canal Festival activities that have happened around the borough, but an international event coming to Walsall is something we haven't had for a while. And following discussions that we've been having, there was the opportunity to attract the Women's Cycling Tour of Britain through Walsall. Alyssa will give a bit more detail about the race and what it's about and where it goes. But Walsall took the opportunity to say, yeah, actually, that's something that meets a lot of our agendas. It gives us the opportunity to boost the profile of the town. It gives us the opportunity to look at how we attract people into the town centre by having an event that comes into the town centre. It gives us the opportunity to talk about health and well-being and active living being a sporting event. And in particular, it gives us the opportunity to talk about the women of Walsall, as this is a women's tour rather than the men's tour. So there's a whole series of things that attracting this, and I say it's an international event. It's one of the most prestigious events, the Tour of Britain, on the women's cycling calendar across the world. So it's really, it's a high profile event and a real opportunity for us to showcase not just cycling in Walsall, but a whole series of things that go around it in terms of why Walsall's a great place, the people we've got, the communities that we've got, and the rich variety and mix of people that we've got here. And we want to take this as an event, not just as the event on its own. And we often hear about legacy of things like the Olympics or the Commonwealth Games, but how do we maximise the opportunity of this event in the lead up to it? We'll come on to when it is, the lead up to it, on the day itself, and actually our legacy as a result of that event post the day that it will be with us. So it seems that perhaps from where I started in terms of the economic and the regeneration of Walsall, how does a cycling event fit in with that? Well, it's very much the cycling event being a means to an end, as I say, about a much richer tapestry of activity that goes on in Walsall and the celebration of Walsall. So one of the things that we're looking for from today, and again, Alyssa will talk through in a lot more detail, is about how you, as the representatives of the communities and the people of Walsall, can get involved and get engaged. And we're really, really keen that this is more than just a cycling event, and it's a celebration of Walsall. So I'll leave it at that point, Dee, if that's okay, as an introduction. And I'm sure there'll be lots of other things to add to as we go on.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you, Simon. And as I said earlier, for anyone who's only just joined, there will be a question and answer session at the end, so you will have a chance to raise any queries you have. If I could now pass over to Alyssa to say more about the event itself. Is that okay, Alyssa?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much, and thanks for the introduction to the why as well, Simon, because I think that's a very important one to reiterate in this. The reason why Walsall is bringing such a big event in and really wanting to celebrate what Walsall is about. Just as a quick background, I'll introduce myself. I'm Alyssa. I'm Chief Executive of Pennine Events. Pennine Events is a leading events management agency for major outdoor events, specifically regarding sporting events and cycling. So we've delivered anything from the Tour of Britain, Tour de France, Tour de Yorkshires, etc., alongside a lot of cultural activation. My background is also coming from the senior leadership team at Liverpool City Council, part of Culture Liverpool, where I've delivered things like the Giants tall ships and crazy weird interventions. I won't go into too much detail. So a big part of my role as Pennine Events is to first of all be the delivery partner for Walsall Council, to make sure that this event comes in a safe and enjoyable manner for everyone, and work between the council and the organizer of the tour. And then alongside that, had the opportunity to work with the team and Simon's team to come up with a way to actually activate this as a big celebration rather than just bringing the events in. So I will be one of the key people that you will be dealing with over the next few months in regards to this activation. So as Simon said, there's a big reason alongside the bringing this event in for Walsall. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and share my screen and just see if that will work. Right, I'm hoping that works for everyone. Okay, perfect. as said, bringing in the women's tour, which is part of the UCI, which is the overall International Federation for Cycling, and international governing body for cycling. And it's part of one of their world tours, and specifically the women's tours. The event will be coming into Walsall on Tuesday, the 5th of October. The event will be running for about 6 days. We are the second stage, and as part of that, we as Walsall will be hosting a start and a finish. For those that are not completely familiar with cycling events, that's quite a coup. It's not the norm. Normally it's a start or a finish, but it has given an awful lot of opportunity for Walsall to do that, and to have all eyes on Walsall from that perspective. As a quick intro, I'll tell you a little bit more about the event itself and the opportunity alongside it, and then go into detail in regards to the opportunity as Walsall, as all the communities coming together, and what that might mean. And I will also hand over to John King, who is the marketing manager on the event, and part of Walsall Council, just to give you a little bit of an overview on the direction and vision that we're looking at from there. So just to go back onto the overall event, the women's tour, as I said, Tuesday the 5th of October, Walsall will be hosting this. Just a quick inspirational image to give everyone a little bit of a vibe of what the finish might look like. And we are still confirming the route overall, so that detail will come in within the next month, hopefully, and will be confirmed alongside all the businesses as well. But as a quick starter, we have agreed that the start of the event will be held in the Arboretum, and the finish of the event will be on Lichfield Street in front of the town hall. And we've purposely chosen 2 different sites, again, to make sure that we make the most of the opportunity and really showcase different elements that Walsall's got to bring. As a quick highlights one, which is important, as Simon referred to, it is a massively recognised international event. This event, compared to the men's race, actually will bring in the top probably the top 10 to 15 cycling teams in women from across the world. So actually, from a profile perspective, it's actually a higher profile that we're looking at. This year, it will be broadcasted live for the first time. It will be broadcasted live on ITV4 and potentially Eurosport as well. Overall, there is a 2.5 global TV audience with this, about 170 international markets and 130 roundabout UK TV audience. Just wanted to reiterate that because it gives a little bit of an idea of the scale and the fact that all eyes will be on Walsall throughout the day. And this is where we've then come up with, well, let's make the most of the opportunity and see what else we can do around it to highlight what we've got. Again, as Simon has said, the event is utilised as a vessel. It can almost be seen as a launch pad or as a major celebration to start that overall master plan and that overall vision. Cultural interventions bring communities together. Sports and activity is rocket fuel for regeneration, and that phrase has been used an awful lot, but it's absolutely true. Of course, able to drive tourism, health and well-being, social value, economic impact, both spend as well as longer term. It's really putting an eye on Walsall and making sure we make the most of that. But what we've done is we've highlighted the top 5 objectives really of what we want to get out of this as an event. So it's not just Walsall deciding to bring this lovely event in. There's a massive reasoning behind it. So this brings us on to what we want to do a little bit further with this. So as part of the major event, as part of bringing people in, bringing tourism in, having the TV coverage, putting a spotlight on Walsall, we then started working out, well, actually, what kind of diary do we drive around this? Is this going to be a standalone event? Is this something as part of the master plan? And really come away with the whole reimagining Walsall. And John will go a little bit more into detail on this, but specifically Walsall and focusing on bringing something together for all the communities. So this is an opportunity to shine a light on all of our communities, all the people, all the assets and everything that we've got. We want to get everyone involved. We want to make sure that the ownership sits with our communities, with our residents, with our businesses, and therefore for you guys to utilize the opportunity that we bring within this. To go a little bit into detail again on that, as said, Walsall is the stage, and that's how we're positioning this. So we are looking at highlighting different parts of the town and to shine a spotlight on that. It's an opportunity to shine a bright light on our people, our heritage, our cultures, our communities, our trades, and our vision for the future. And really on a national and international level say that we're putting on an ambitious show. Another thing to consider with this is that the overall event is a 6-day event, and what we want to make sure is that Walsall will become the highlight of the overall event as well, because not every town or every host town will put on a big show, and we'll make the most of that opportunity, and we're ahead of the game with this. So some of the key things, what we've done is we've worked out what are the core elements that we want to focus on when it comes to additional activity around it. And I'll go into that in a little bit more detail in regards to the activity after this. But the key elements we want to focus on is celebrating Walsall overall, but celebrating the cultures of Walsall. We've got such a multicultural town and there's so much going on, and we want to make sure that the event becomes a vessel bringing people together. The Walsall Dreams perspective is very much about the vision, about the master plan that Simon has just spoken to. And there's different elements that we want to highlight out of that. A town of makers is a big phrase, or a town of 100 trades that's been used throughout to describe Walsall. And there are still incredible trades that are taking place that we want to highlight. Overall, of course, the Women of Walsall, this is a women's tour, this is a women's cycling event, and especially with today's agenda across the world in regards to female empowerment and opportunity and equality, we want to make sure that we don't forget about that. We don't just see it as any average event. This is a female group of incredible riders that are going head to head on an international basis, and it gives the opportunity to shine a light on our women, the women of Walsall, whether that is incredible things they've done, or women's first, or incredible businesses they've set up, or heroic deeds, whether that is our women, and just shining a spotlight on all the things they do. And alongside that, of course, which sits again with the overall objectives from the master plan, is the healthy living, the active living, becoming the healthiest town, the sports, the cycling elements. But we want to reiterate within that this is not per se about a cycling event. This can be all kinds of different activity. It's about showcasing what we've got and using the cycling event as a vessel. So it could have been a cycling event, it could have been any other event, but it's an international one that we know will put eyes on us. What we have then gone through is really looking at what the different areas are in the town that we want to highlight. As Simon said, one of the main reasons is that social, that economic benefit, the footfall. So we really want to make sure that we highlight the different areas in Walsall, and that we drive that footfall and drive that economic regeneration as well for our businesses, as well as our residents, who will in turn benefit from that. And then a lot of activation in regards to social well-being for them. But what we've done is we've initially zoned the town out in 5 key areas that we want to utilize overall. So the main zone being the zone number 1, we just numbered them for no particular reason at this point, but just to make it a little bit easier, is the start. So the start, as said, will be at the Arboretum, and we've got an opportunity to activate and create a fan zone there like no other. We've got the space, we've got an incredible background there. This is the area where all the riders will prepare themselves, so the official sports village from the tour will be there as well. Depending on what will happen in regards to restrictions, people will be able to walk around and see the women get ready to get onto their bikes, do their pre-race training, and we can create a zone alongside that has activation, that brings people in, has traders, has lots of opportunity for little mini events within that even. We've then got the finish, as said, will be in front of the town hall, Litchfield Street. From an activation perspective, so from an events perspective from our side, there's not an awful lot of space to do anything there because it will be completely taken up by the finish, by the spectators. However, keeping in mind that this is televised, so is there an opportunity to have any artwork showcasing, or to then put that in the brief in the media packs, etc. So I want you to look at this in the most open and flexible way. We're just looking at what we can do between all of us. One of the areas we want to then go into is the markets, the high streets, because we want to drive that footfall. So we want people to engage at the fan zone. We want them to go to the finish. We want them to be spectators there. But in between that time, there is a lot of opportunity to engage with other activation and to go and visit our high streets and our markets and see what we do, what it looks like, what the plans are. And so there's different areas that Market Square, we might want to do something in regards to cultures of Walsall and really highlight that. Now we've got a high street available with a lot of footfall coming through that. Another zone that we are really keen on utilising is Gallery Square. There's a lot of work that has been done in regards to public realm work that can be utilised. It gives an incredible backdrop. It includes the new gallery. There's a lot of opportunity there to activate that in a really lovely space and make something beautiful out of that. And then once the route is confirmed, we will be able to give some more details in regards to what areas the route will be touching, what schools it will be going past potentially, what areas there might be there to activate a little bit more. But we want to initially focus on these 5 key zones. So from there, keeping that in mind, keep our audiences in mind. So what we're looking at from an activation perspective is we're looking at activating stuff and creating opportunities for our Walsall residents, our schools, our communities, our businesses. We want to have something that attracts residents from surrounding areas on the day. Includes the whole tourism area in that as well, because we will be driving footfall. People will come from far to come and see the finish, see the start of this event. We've got the TV audiences, so we want to make sure that any TV footage just gives the right image of Walsall. And from that perspective, all eyes are on Walsall. So before, during and post event, especially now when the communications will be ramping up over the next couple of months, with the routes being released, the teams being released, Walsall being mentioned, an awful lot. But the main reason I wanted to bring this forward and just put this slide in is just keep thinking about this different activation that could take place. It's fantastic to highlight all the different zones on the day as an in-person interaction with people. But one of the key opportunities that we've got here is a bit of an educational one. So how do we include the residents and the communities of Walsall in the preparation of this? How do we give them a voice? How do we give them that ownership over the events? So it's not as if the council has just brought something in. We want everyone to be included and have ownership over this and do this together. So this is where it comes to community engagement. Is there something you can think of that or groups of people you want to work with before the event, to get things ready, to create different things, to have a program of activation or education going on? Then of course during the event, but then post event, this can become a legacy, and a lot of these elements that we will be working on with you have the opportunity to become that long-term legacy. Events might be able to return, not particularly, potentially this one, but it doesn't have to particularly be this one. But if there's some sort of activation around healthy living in regards to social engagement, that could be something that could be returning on an annual basis. So it's really looking at what opportunities we can create that positively impact all our residents, that create that opportunity to showcase Walsall, and really give the best introduction to Walsall to all these new audiences that will be getting to know Walsall, getting to know our communities and our residents. So there's quite a lot there to think about, and then going into a little bit more information on that. So what we are actually looking for, and I thought it was important to, before setting that, to really talk you through the last couple of slides to get that understanding and the openness and flexibility from our side as well. So we are looking to work with different organizations, and we've invited a whole wealth of organizations, as you can see in this meeting, to see what the art of the possible might be. So there's different opportunities here. There's opportunities to get involved on a small basis, whether that is a pre-event community engagement program or something you want to do, or even if you want to theme some of the work you're already doing or theme it alongside the event. Is it on the day itself and taking over a full zone? For example, the Gallery Square, could you take over on that as an organization and work with that area, look at sort of the themes that we're aiming at, which again are not set in stone. It's just to give you an overall idea of what we'd like to focus on. And is there something that you can do with a whole area or team up with other organizations to take over on that? Is there something actually we'd like to create something that can become a legacy? It doesn't have to be on the day. It can be a weekend before, 2 weekends before, and we can help you with that. We are, from that perspective, very, very open to just getting ideas in and just working with each organization on what that could look like, build that out a little bit further. Pennine Events and my team are there from a management perspective, from a safety perspective, soundboarding perspective, to make sure we can make this work. So if you have no experience with putting together an event or an activation or something during an event and you're quite nervous about that, please don't worry, because we're there to hold your hands through that and we'll work with you on all of that, still having the overall responsibility from a safe event perspective sitting with us. But in regards to that, we are open to whatever the ideas might be. Now, there is one thing, which is that we do not currently have a set commissioning budget for this. So the way that this normally would work is that there's sometimes a commissioning budget that's been set aside. As you can imagine, we've also, there is a little bit set aside that could help with infrastructure. Of course, we're there from a management perspective. We're also looking at sponsorships and seeing what corporate partners might be able to come in, and we might be able to link different zones or organizations up with corporate partners to work from that side. But that's not a given. So it is working together on actually what those plans are. And potentially some of the larger cultural organizations that I believe are on this call might have some commissioning budgets from the likes of the Arts Council available for other projects that might be slightly steered in the direction of this event, or might be that activation or commissioning budget might be able to be activated through this event. So I'd just like you to have a think if there's any possibilities on that. Because of everything over the past year, it is a little bit of a tricky period. It has been a tricky period. Therefore, of course, this event hasn't been fully confirmed until quite late in the day, which means that there's no opportunity as Walsall Council to start bidding for an Arts Council fund or anything like that. We have explored that. But as said, there is a little bit there that we can utilize. And we just want to take a very, very open approach with this rather than a set approach, as in you've got this amount or this is your zone and you need to make that work. We want to be quite fluent on this to make sure that this becomes a celebration and that as many people are involved as possible on this. Just a quick one as well on the sidelines, really, from a business perspective that I touched upon. We are working to hopefully bring in some partnerships and some sponsorships with some corporate partners. Overall, we will give the opportunity to every business in Walsall to be involved in this. So it's not a manner as what you see with some of the larger events or large scale events or larger cities, where it's kind of being part of the event is for the elite a little bit. We will make sure there's opportunities for everyone, and everyone will receive a downloadable pack which has the different details that can be on the website to showcase that you are a part of this event. And it doesn't have to be, only if you put in X amount. So that is something we're working on as well, to make sure, again, that ownership sits with everyone and the opportunity sits with everyone. So that overall is a bit of a briefing in a nutshell. And I appreciate it is a very open brief, but we feel that that brings more opportunity at this stage. In the call out document that we had prepared, which I believe has been distributed, and if you haven't received it, please let us know and we will forward that to you straight away. In the call out brief, there is some detail in there that reiterates what we've just spoken about. There's also a bit of a list under each sort of key theme that we're looking at, as a bit of an idea, as a bit of inspiration, as a bit of guidance on what the art of the possible might be, to maybe get you started. That doesn't mean by any means that you have to stick to that. It was more as an initial idea. And you know, these are the types of things, and we try to give a really big variety of different elements that could be done, to give you as much inspiration, so to speak, to come with. Now, because of the pretty tight deadlines that we have got in regards to organising this event, the event taking place on the 5th of October seems a long way off and a long time away, but from an operational and organisational perspective, it's not really. So what we're looking at is to have proposals with us by the end of this month, ideally. And again, I don't want to put you off. It doesn't have to be an all singing and dancing shiny proposal. If that is just a quick A4 with some bullet points and ideas of what you would like to do, then that's absolutely fine, because that gives us an idea of what the interest is, and we can then start working out what might work together, what zones we might be able to utilize, and then work with you hand in hand. And I think that is pretty much it from my side at the moment. As Davina said, you know, big opportunity for question and answer later on, so please ask any questions. But I'd like to just move to our colleague John King, who is managing the marketing and the communications on this, which is of course a really important element of it as well.
Thanks, Alyssa. Yeah, I'm John King, and I'm a marketing officer with Walsall Council. I know some of the faces on this call. And a lot of my responsibility is around the regeneration, promoting the regeneration that's kicking off in Walsall. This is a big deal. Having this race is a really big deal for Walsall. I mean, I can't emphasize it enough. We have an opportunity, because of the unique involvement of Walsall in this year's race, to invite people to come for the start and stay for the finish. So that's at least a whole day that we have a large audience's attention. In respect of the, you know, for instance, in the commentary for the race, if you've ever listened into any of these commentaries, you know, it's not an accident that when the helicopter flies over a church or a castle or whatever, a unique landmark, the commentator knows all about it. Well, he's been given all those notes. So we have an opportunity to prime the commentators about any number of different aspects of Walsall. Walsall as a town of makers, Walsall as a town of saddlery and locksmiths, Walsall as a town that made bicycle seats, Walsall as a town that made bicycles. You know, we haven't just made this connection up. It's a real, genuine historic connection. Walsall's story is in recent years has been the same as any other town in the Black Country, or indeed in this country, a story of, you know, economic difficulties, decline on the high street, closing retail. That's been everybody else's story. We are not unique. What is unique now is that Walsall is in a very, very different position. On Tuesday, the announcement was made that we've got £21.3 million from the Town Deal Fund. Just a fortnight earlier, the announcement was made that we had over £11 million from the Future High Streets Fund. This is money that's ring-fenced for specific projects, but this is money that's going to make a real, lasting, genuine difference in the town. So that's the bricks and mortar of it, but this is about the people of it, yeah? And what I see the opportunity here is that we can demonstrate as a borough that through all our wonderful diversity, we can mobilize that, we can collaborate, and we can amplify, if you like, the new narrative, the new story of Walsall, where we are going, yeah? Where we're going and how everyone's sort of really buying into that new narrative, that new story. We have some money from the Welcome Back to the High Streets Fund, which we're going to use, and we're working with an organisation that managed the Sadler Centre, that are working on a whole new marketing campaign. And it won't just be like welcome back to the high street as a sort of generic message that every high street that's been given funds will tell. No. Our story is we are Walsall. You know, we are all Walsall. This is who we are. This is what we represent. This is our diversity. This is our strength. This is our history and our heritage. And this is the path that we're going on. So what we're talking here specifically is about the women's tour and how you as organizations can come forward and help populate the town and help us tell our story. But for me, I think the legacy potentially here, which is even more exciting, that as those new changes happen, as those new buildings and educational centres and potentially a 1,000-seater venue in the heart of Warsaw, as all these things happen, the town itself, the people of the town are mobilising, yeah, and coming together and creating a real energy and a buzz behind it, because bricks and mortar are great, but they of themselves are inanimate and don't really represent anything unless something happens within them. Likewise for the town centre and the Arboretum, on the day of the race, the Arboretum is pretty. It's a wonderful park. It's a fabulous asset. The town centre, you know, now it's really buzzing and it's looking great. But we need to populate that, and we need to bring that energy that I know is in the room today and bring that forward. And I think the question really is that we're asking of you is, okay, what small thing can I do? I'm looking at about 20 odd squares here. And if every one of those squares was populated with a small thing, what would the big picture look like? Yeah. So we're not asking for the moon. We're not asking for the world. Yeah. We're asking you to do the things that you do anyway, but to do them for us around the tour when the tour comes to town. And then let's show the world what we can do. And let's think about what that then would mean going forward from October. So, you know, let's go for it. Let's go for it.
Okay, thank you, John. Inspirational speech there, and I'm sure a lot of people have been inspired in the room. I think just a very quick point from me. We don't often, as One Walsall, say this is not about the funding, because we know how important money is to voluntary and community sector organisations. But actually, I think on this occasion, it isn't about the funding. When Alyssa was talking about, what was it, 2.5 million global TV audience? Well, this is about you know, people putting their mark on what they deliver in Walsall and what they do in Walsall, and a fantastic opportunity to do so. But sorry, Alyssa, back over to you for next steps.
Okay, so as the next steps, just a quick one, just from John's perspective as well. He is working in regards to the digital content and working on the website. There'll be a website which is being populated as we speak, and the start and the holding pages are there, and John's done an awful lot of work on that. That will bring everything together as well. So for our residents, for our communities, for our partners, for the tourism as a guide and portal through to this event, and more. So where all the information will be populated over the next couple of months, but all of that will be shared with you in due time as well. So as a next step, we'd like to ask you to put your thinking caps on, get together with your teams, get together with your communities that you work with, and try and put some plans forward to us. And as said, it doesn't have to be a singing and dancing proposal, you know, something that goes to the Arts Council and has to be 200 pages. It can be a really quick overview of, listen, we'd like to get involved. This is our organisation. This is what we do. This is how we think we'd like to get involved. And put that through to us and let us have a look at that, and then pick that up with you in, you know, individually, to then for us to create a bit of a puzzle between everyone and see what will work. And if there is anything you need from us as part of your plan, let us know. It could be that you've got a plan A, B, and C, where you say, well, actually, I'd really like to do this, but I'm going to need X, Y, and Z for that. We could also do this. So we can then look at what the possibilities will be, but at least if we get an idea of what that something might be, then we can start collating that and work with you on that. And there is a lot of work to do over the coming months with you, so hence the deadline being quite tight on everything, so apologies on that. But kind of I don't want to use the unprecedented nature of the world at the moment, but yeah, please do. So yeah, in the call out document are all the details, so it just gives you a quick overview again on what we'd like you to put in your email or your Word document, or whatever way you'd like to present it, which again is just going over your over your organization, what the ideas are, etc. Again, a lot of the sort of initial bits of inspirational ideas are there, so just have a look through that if you're a little bit stuck. And again, just to reiterate, it can be something very small, like John said, it can be something very big, it doesn't matter, but if everyone puts something together, we can create an incredible celebration there that will be spoken about for a very, very long time, and will be that Kickstarter vessel for the next chapter, really, because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the next chapter for Walsall. So let's kickstart that in an incredible way. And I think that's it from my side, Davina. I'm quite happy to go into any questions from anyone.
Okay, thanks ever so much, Alyssa. There are a few really positive comments in the chat about people thinking about what they want to put together. If you haven't had the proposal document, we can forward it to you. Shabina, I've seen in the chat that you want it. We'll make a note and send that to you if that's okay. So really, it's just over to you guys in the room for any further questions, anything that you want to raise about everything that you've heard this morning. Either raise your hand or put the question in the chat. You're all quite quiet, quite unnerving.
I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Exactly.
I'll go first then. Hello, my name's Shabina, Walsall Council Road Safety. So I'm quite excited about this because we were already thinking before the email came out about this meeting, about this event and how we could tie it in with what we're doing. And it actually works out brilliantly because our programme, the A-Stars programme, looks at promoting sustainable travel and road safety in primary schools and secondary schools. So anything in terms of walking, cycling, scooting, anything in terms of road safety is actually delivered through ourselves in conjunction with public health, children's services, and a couple of other sections as well. So we were quite eager to get involved in this. So we're very lucky because it actually falls within October Walk to School month. Now, although it's called October Walk to School month, we actually encourage cycling, scooting, park and stride, all types of active travel. So for us, we're going to use this as the launch event because it starts the month starts on the 4th, but obviously this is on the 5th, which is fine. So we're going to use this as our launch event. I think the only thing that we want to think about, because we've already been thinking about how we wanted to join in and stuff like that, and I've already got ideas and stuff down, but I think it's just once the route is available, that's kind of help us a little bit more. Today's been very helpful because obviously we know now where the start point and that we actually have an end point on the same day, which is fantastic. So we're going to work with our schools. We currently work with over 80% of primary schools and a large number of secondary schools. So we wanted to actually look at doing something where we could invite local schools to actually come along on the route, whichever was closest to them. So from our point of view, we're quite excited, putting together our proposal. And I think once the route is available, that's really going to help as well.
That's absolutely. Thank you so much for that. And as you said, there's such a clear link there. There's so much that we could do. There's some other activity that I'd like to talk to you about, sort of on individually as well. Once you put your details through, where there might be some other opportunities to link up with some of the other organisations and leisure centres, because they want to put something in with the schools as well. So, and this is a really, really good example of actually it fits in so well with your organisation. There's other things that are in the background that other people want to do. So for us to then be able to sort of create that little puzzle of actually we can do these things as a bigger program would be fantastic. So thank you so much. And yeah, the route will go through as soon as we've got it. We'll notify everyone.
And just to add to that as well, we're the sole provider of bikeability for Walsall Council. So we provide all the cycling through our secondary schools and primary schools, level 1, 2 and 3. And we also provide training for families as well. So in terms of that, and this as a cycling event, it ties in amazingly as well.
Yeah, lots of opportunity there. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm really, really keen to have that chat. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alyssa, Leslie Easter couldn't find the hand, but wants to ask a question. Leslie, over to
Had
you.
lots of sarcastic comments there. Yeah, so basically, from my point of view, Walsall has actually been the most successful area for the community cycle clubs, which is amazing because obviously that's the community cycling, so all different areas and diverse ethnicity. So it's been really successful. So that, as Shabina was saying, to be honest, like joining together families, mothers, having an idea of what the route will be, and potentially having a massive celebration of cycling of the community in Walsall with a lot of colour and a lot of I don't know. So the route really is very important, and I think ideally for me on the day, that's when I'd like to actually have like everything that's been built up over the last 4 years really sort of showcased, and that the people can feel they're very apprehensive of cycling on roads because of traffic, I have to say. Therefore, anything which would involve a closed route and the access to cycling with a traffic-free environment, I think they'd really embrace. So anything you can do there, Elisa, that'd be great.
Working on that one.
Okay.
And it's really good to see you as well, Leslie. And just for the others, Leslie Cycling UK as well. And there's some other organisations, British Cycling, Leslie, I've picked up with them as well. So I think that there's quite a few things we can do around those elements.
Yeah, great.
Alyssa, there's quite a bit going on in the chat as well. I think it's Nicola Morris who's saying she's not sure if her microphone is working, but she's spoken to One New Walsall, Healthy Lifestyles, about being involved as well. So there are a lot of ideas flying around.
Brilliant. That sounds absolutely fantastic. Apologies. Yes, I'm just looking through the chat now. Absolutely brilliant, Nicola, to get you involved in this, and as said, any ideas.
Rudy, sorry to interrupt, but it's Rudy, I think you've been having your hand up for a while. Did you want to say something?
Thank you. Yeah, it was just, I mean, Alyssa, you can finish what you were saying about the comments, but yeah, it was just a logistical question, but then also just a bit of what we wanted to share about our idea as well.
Oh no, please go for it. I'll reach for the other ones in a bit.
Thank you. So I'm from Sus Trans, and in the West Midlands, and we've got a smaller idea because we're not currently working on a particular project in Walsall, so just trying to scramble a few team together to run something. But we were looking at a women's saddle event. So saddles soreness is a big issue in women's cycling, has been with the British cycling team. We know there's been research, but it affects women on an everyday basis, myself included sometimes, depending on which bike I'm borrowing where. So we've run a pilot event recently with the Women's Hospital in Birmingham, and we'd love to do something similar as part of this. So bringing a few different saddle manufacturers together to provide us some samples so that people can then use a static bike on a turbo and try a couple of different ones out so that they can see what's the right fit. And potentially we could see if we could find someone who's a bit more of an expert in selecting depending on your body shape and size and type to support with that. And then so that's our idea. And then the logistical question I wanted to ask was just a bit more around the marketing and branding of it all, and whether it would all come under one sort of marketing and branding banner, and whether we just sort of submit the event and it would be through the calendar of events through the website, or whether we'd need to think about any sort of promotional activity ourselves, because that's possibly where we may not have as much capacity to do something like that element of it, especially as we're not specifically based in Walsall.
If I can come in there then on that point, that's a really good point. Two things really. Firstly, yes, we'll centralise where all the information can be found. So there is a women's tour page on Walsall Online. This is a website that was created by Lord Way and his team, who the council's working with very closely around this whole notion of reimagining Walsall. So if as elements of this are finalised, they will go up. There'll be a calendar. It'll be timed. At 2 o'clock this happens. At 3:30 this happens. That will all be there. Equally, though, it's really important that we amplify the messages. So what we'll be looking at is a kind of almost like a cascade system where individually, of course, you as an organisation, the organisations on this call here, will want to promote what you are doing individually, and that's absolutely fine. And what we'll do is really for central messages, we'd look for you to share them and repost them and all that kind of stuff. And I think the combined weight, at least of our digital, our social profiles, will have make a lot of noise. And then we're also going to be exploring ways at how we can feed our stories into the broader narrative that's being pushed out by the media and the TV companies that are covering the day itself. So I referenced the notes that will be given to commentators. You know, here's did you know that Noddy Holder came from Walsall, or all that kind of stuff, a little bit of the trivia and what have you. But also included in that will be, did you know that Walsall is one of the most successful areas in the Midlands for the cycle scheme, or the whatever it might be, or all of everything we do is a story, and we've got to look at it in respect of the stories we want to tell. So marketing is just it's only storytelling. That's all it is. And the more stories we've got, the more people will convey them.
Just to add on, thank you so much, John, for that as well. And just to add on to that there will be a centralised brand that John's working on, which will be around a Reimagine and Walsall overall, rather than just focus on the women's tour, because we want this to become a longer term piece. So if we were to create something that was just around the women's tour, it'd be a one hitter, whereas this is a much larger piece of work. So there'll be an overall brand, in essence, that can be utilized, and those packs will be sent out to everyone as well once that's done. So it will just comprise of the logo, a poster or a bit of text, and of course the full details of what to expect as well. When it comes to your ideas for activation, absolutely brilliant. You've got no idea how much training we do internally as well, with major mass participation events that sometimes are multi-day in regards to saddle source, and it's so overlooked. So that would be absolutely brilliant, and be a really nice activation to have at the start site.
Fab. If you do have any particular contacts that might be there, able to, join and speak at the actual event, that would be also great to link in.
Brilliant.
And thanks, Colin, as well, for noticing that I was waiting.
Apologies.
So Emmanuel from Nashdom has got his hand up.
Hi everybody, thank you very much for the invitation. I'm very, very excited. It was absolutely amazing presentation. Thank you, Alisa. Thank you also everybody who actually managed to give us the vision, because I believe this is probably the biggest event that I haven't seen that brings so many people together and so many local great organization, that this is an opportunity to show off how good we work together. So first of all, I have so many good ideas, but I don't know how good they are, right? Alisa,
no bad ideas.
So from Eastern European Russian speaking community, I'm more than happy to come from a perspective of showcase women's stories, right? That women that impact local communities through teaching, through sports activities, through leadership, through also business, local businesses that impact local communities. And also we have different various projects that we work with homeless people and also the most vulnerable people, and we want to involve also that type of stories, because the way I see it, this is an event of hope, of rejuvenating, right? So something needs to click in and activate something inside a human being that okay, it might be an opportunity to get employed, it might be an opportunity to find different ways of solving my problem, or create a network and reach out to see what else, how can I restart my life, how can I restart my integration, my so this is the way I see it, and we do collaborate with a few organizations. And my background idea was, okay, I love the art part. Okay, I love the art part, and as the idea, as you put it into the call out, was to bring people together, right? So I was thinking about the flash mob, right? So everybody dance, you know, have that 5 minutes of hundreds of people that's immortalized of 5 minutes, boom, and boom, everything comes all together. And this can be involved with the local dance academies that I know they've been shut down for a while now, and get in touch with those teachers and trainers that can bring the youth and also the adults. Once that we set up some videos, everybody can watch that at home, and you know, in their own free time can exercise with their families and friends and share it through the social media with nice hashtags. Also, another idea that come to my mind, and thanks to John King that actually gathered the idea to invite me in, and we had a conversation before. Thank you very much for letting me know about this beautiful event. Regarding the families event, we would like to bring up to 22 Eastern European Russian-speaking communities all together, and work with Polish, with Slovakian, with Roma, with Romanian, with Ukrainian, Russian, all these people that have some sort of arts, okay, like photography and visual arts, but also they want to showcase the dance, the traditional costumes, the richness of their heritage and culture, right? Also, I heard some of the chefs and pastiers that they want to bring some food, because they always find that the you know, the smells and the ones that you go into an event, right? It's not only about the music in the background, a lot of people and chaos, but also they want to taste something, they want to drink something, right? So it has to be somehow a food and drink area where I would love to bring a few list of businesses and you know, at least have a small little stand over there, you know, people that they make usually that's for small groups and communities, and they'll have the chance to bring something to share. In regards with what else was, I have so many others things that I can't share now.
Emmanuel, if I can come in there, I mean, fantastic enthusiasm, absolutely brilliant. You know, if you can bottle it, terrific. We'll make a fortune. But put your ideas down and submit them. But you've given me another thought, which is initially the media notes of Warsaw Story we were going to be handing to the British, the domestic commentators, but of course this is being screened around the world, and there's an opportunity then, and I'll have to explore this. I'll talk to Alyssa and maybe to the guys who are running the event itself. What pathways do we have to tell the story of the diaspora, if you like, yeah, that are you know, living within the community of Warsaw back to the countries of their origin? Because you know, Eurosport will have they'll use the same footage, but they'll have their own domestic commentators. You know, there's an opportunity there. Yeah, but yeah, send the ideas in, Emmanuel. Thank you very much.
Blessings. Thank you very much.
Really nice actually, with putting that back to the actual international links and back to the commentators there. That's definitely one, if you could explore that, John, it'd be brilliant. And just to pick up Emmanuel as well, fantastic, thank you so much. And the whole flash mob thing actually did make me think of one thing, and this might be where some others might be able to support you with this idea as well, Emmanuel, with the song Jerusalem that's been going wild, and online everywhere. That's lots of different countries, police forces, everyone has been doing this specific dance to this specific song, and it's a song of hope and community and coming together. That might be something to explore.
Wonderful. We'll consider that. Thank you very much, Elisa.
Thank you. Apologies, I can't see any hands, so I'm leaning on you with this, Dee.
That's fine. And again, apologies for missing Reedy's hand earlier. Emmanuel, your hand's still up, but I think you've said all you want to say for the moment, which was completely inspirational. Love it. Absolutely brilliant. Alyssa, there's quite a few comments in the chat about how inspired people have been by this morning's kind of presentation, etc. Someone saying that they didn't expect to be so inspired by a cycling event, which is absolutely brilliant. So I think it may be that people are starting to think about things, but not quite sure how that's going to manifest. And I think, you know, what one also would like to say to the voluntary and community sector organisations, if you want us to broker any conversations with ideas that you may have, that you may want to then speak with other organisations about, please contact us. We'll put our contact details in the chat, and we can support brokering those conversations about some of your ideas. But, you know, what's been said this morning already has been absolutely fantastic. Love the flash mob idea. Love it.
I do have another question. Sorry, I do have a question. I know you mentioned routes and you mentioned the start and the end time. Do we know anything at the moment in terms of timings, as in what the start time would be or the end time would be? Do we have any of that information yet?
We are looking around about 11 o'clock for a start, and it will probably be about 3 to 4 hours.
Okay.
Lisa, I think Stuart Webb had some questions. He mentioned he's responsible for the Walsall Council Leisure Centres and wants to say hello and ask a couple of questions, Stuart.
Yeah, hi guys, nice to meet you all. I don't know why I have to follow Emmanuel. I'm not sure I'll be able to portray that enthusiasm, but it's in here somewhere. I run the Walsall Council's leisure facilities, so sort of taking on the mantra of you're looking for people to sort of come forward and commit to things that they can actually do rather than just throwing ideas out. A few of the things that we'll definitely do is have a sort of participation promo stand on the day. We'll bring some spin bikes down and sort of try and get people involved as a way of promoting our active living centres, and specifically Walsall Gala Swimming and Fitness Centre, which is in the town centre right by the finish. So we'll get them heavily involved as well. We're going to cycle the route once it's published and create a Strava segment so that we can push that out on social media to get some sort of participation taking place. I've decided if I do it, I'll at least be king of the mountains for about half an hour before everyone else beats me. So,
we'll have to get you a jersey.
John, yeah, that'd be great. We're going to run challenges in our fitness suites that will be linked to the tour. So if we can get some kind of artwork and branded stuff to help promote it in that way, that'd be really good. We're going to liaise with the school games organisers in Walsall so that we can get some hopefully get some engagement with their sports leaders. And then my question was around access to the route. Do you think there'd be any chance that potentially the school games could run a mini sort of participation event on the route before it starts with some secondary school children cycling, or even could we maybe organise a corporate ride on the route as a way of trying to engage businesses?
Yeah, so normally there's an opportunity to utilise the route, but because we're still confirming it at the moment, I can't give you a definite answer on that. However, we've got the Arboretum. So if the access on the route is not available, then we can create something within the Arboretum that will work, because we've got the space and we're looking at using the fields further down. So we've got all the space around it that we can again activate, have musicians, have all of that kind of on the side as well to keep that momentum up. it could also be that if it's better for something like that to do it, because it's a Tuesday, to do it the weekend before and to have something taking place. So there's lots of opportunities for that, Stuart. So yeah,
Okay.
let's explore that together.
Yeah.
And just what you mentioned as well, Kate mentioned it as well in regards to spinning bikes. I think one of the things we put in the call out was sort of spinning bikes around the schools as well. Really love the idea with the Strava and the challenge as well, because that'll be a really big pickup, no doubt on that. And what I'm thinking, and I don't know, this will be a bit of an administrational task, is I'm thinking of sort of the highlights that John can put in the press pack as well. So what are the things commentators are going to want to pick up and they'll go, oh, that's something quite quirky, we've not had that before, let's mention it, is if we could somehow measure, not measure, but obviously keep track of the amount of miles people in Walsall are doing in the run-up, and it could come to something in that in the media commentator. Well, actually, the people of Walsall have done 1 million miles in the lead up to this, so we could use the Strava account to keep track of that. And potentially use the challenges that you're doing to keep track of that, and the spin bikes, and as well as then working with the other partners like Leslie and Bikeability and everything else. To come together and sort of,
yeah, it sounds good.
Roughly calculated. Let's put it that way. We're never going to have a full, a proper image, but it could be a really nice little story for you as well, John, to be able to reiterate.
Sure.
Yeah, we were thinking almost like the map of the whole tour, and then sort of try and get every mile that someone logs, they crossed off a little bit of the route around Britain. And yeah, if we can share that and push that across social media through all of our channels, that could be really, really good.
That's ace. Absolutely brilliant. So many brilliant ideas.
The other bit that we can.
Sorry, go on, Stuart.
Sorry, Simon. I was just going to say, Alyssa, my colleague Liz Stuffins is in charge of the Healthy Spaces team, so sort of heavily involved in the Arboretum. So obviously they'll be involved on the day as well.
Perfect.
Yeah, just to say on route, it sounds like we're being a bit evasive in terms of do we know what the route is. As you can imagine, the logistics involved in running a race on the highway, closing highways either with temporary rolling road closures or indeed full closures. We're working through all that. What I would say, and it's subject to confirmation, because again, the impact of a closed road means potentially traffic having to go out of borough into different boroughs and all that sort of thing. So we're in negotiations, but there is the potential that the entire race stays within the borough rather than goes out and over Cannock Chase or Blithfield Reservoir or whatever else it might be out to Shropshire. The opportunity then, if the race stays in its entirety within the borough, to showcase parts of the borough becomes even greater and massive. But what we didn't want to do today was sort of say we think we're on plan 4, plan 5 of route, and then next week it changes again. But just to say that there is a potential that it stays within the borough, and we have a circuit within the borough that they go around on a number of occasions, which presents huge opportunities. Yes, it'll bring some logistical issues, and no doubt there'll be some noise about that. But I think the enthusiasm that has been shown in the room today will drown out any temporary moments of noise about, well, I couldn't get off my drive or whatever else it might be. But well, as Alyssa said earlier, as soon as we know the route, we can let that out, and people can then think about, well, blimey, if it's going that way, we can involve this group, that school, that community, whatever it may be. The other point was, I think, and you raised it, Dee, for me, was about people who aren't in the room today, that actually, we know that whoever it may be that from that organisation, please feel free to make contact with them and share what we've talked about today, in terms of getting them involved, because the more that we get involved, the better. There is a danger we've got too many great ideas, but let's not worry about that today, because actually many of the ideas that might come out from this we can perhaps do at other times and at other parts of what John often refers to as a campaign of activity rather than just a one-off. So if there's some great ideas that we can't do as part of the tour, then let's do them as part of something else, because some of those ideas will be, again, about how we animate the town, how we celebrate the town, how we change that mood and that narrative about Walsall. And then just thinking of the issue about saddles, etc. Obviously, we've got people like Brooks Saddles, who are, again, an international maker, only just down the road in West Brom, who make leather saddles. And, you know, we can perhaps get in touch with people like that who are local to the region, who might be able to bring some products to people to try, etc. So there's a whole range and gambit of things that we can link up here, and just the sort of the few comments that have come out today have just sparked thoughts, which is great.
Fantastic, thanks, Simon. Can I just ask Manjit if she wanted to speak about her comment regarding the libraries? Manjit, did you actually want to say anything?
Hi, I've just been messaging Simon separately anyway, but we're at the building adjacent to the council house. It's a library and archives. So it's just for me to understand what it is, how we can help and support showcase this. Because obviously we will have resources within the library and archives about the women of Walsall, about cycling, that we'll be able to promote as well. But it's otherwise how we can help support on the day and the lead up to it as well.
I'd say, imagine very quickly, can I just jump in there? If you've got the stories of 10 interesting women historically in Walsall, 10 just off the top of my head, let's have it. Fantastic. That'd be terrific. We've got Sister Dora, which is the first statue that was erected in the country for a non-royal. Is that right? Am I right in that or something?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah, 10 impressive, astounding, creative, industrious, whatever women that'd be a great piece for me, whatever else you do.
Okay. I'll speak to Kath and Beth in the team and we'll get something sorted. Brilliant. All right, cheers. Thank you.
Thanks, Manjit, for that. It's really good. Dee, could I just add to what both John and Manjit have said there? And it links back to, Alyssa mentioned some work we've been doing with Lord Way, and I know a number of people have been involved in speaking with Lord Way and his team. But one of the underlying themes about whatever activity comes out of some of this is about how do we inspire people? And how do we get people to aspire to be whatever it is, the next Sister Dora or pop artist or fashion or leader of a business or whatever. And again, this event is as much about inspiring people to, well, I can do that. I didn't think I could just ride a bike, or to get involved in working with a group, or to volunteer. And, you know, that inspiration and to get people to aspire is a really important theme that sits under this. And this event can be part of how, and I think it was Emmanuel talked about how we give people hope.
Absolutely. There are still some fantastic ideas in the chat. Leslie's has just had to go, but said, what about lining the streets with decorated bikes and having a competition for the best display or something? I mean, they're just coming so thick and fast. Just to let everyone know that the recording of this will be downloaded onto YouTube, because that's the easiest way to distribute it. We'll get it out on all our social media, and we'll email it out to everyone who's been attending today as well, and it'll go out to the rest of our members as well. So just to let you know, the recording will be circulated probably early next week now.
I think Colin had his hand up, Dee.
Oh, I'm sorry, missing one of our own team. Colin, sorry, come on in.
No, it was just a quick question. I'm dreadfully ignorant, but how long is the route?
It depends again on what we do, whether it will be taking place fully in and around Walsall or whether it goes out. So it does vary an awful lot. It could be anything from 10 miles up.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, just because I was going to say that there's got lots of sort of space for people to go and watch it and be involved and cheer on, because that's going to be part of it, isn't it, as well, geeing people up to get people excited about it.
Yeah, I think whether the route's on a circuit or whether it goes out and comes back in a sort of a point to point, you know, the duration is likely to be sort of 3-4 hours. So there'll be plenty of opportunities for people to see it, which would be great, and for us to do things around it.
Yeah.
Luke's asked a question about the sort of pre-race, what happens in the pre-race, and is there an area where people gather together? So in the Arboretum, excuse me, there'll be a warm-up area. I think this was hinted at earlier on, where actually they allow public access. You know, it's all COVID dependent, clearly, but in the normal run of events, people can actually get up close and personal with their heroes, actually go in and see the cyclists warming up, have a look around the vans and everything. So the circus will come to town initially in the Arboretum, and that's where we're thinking of having a fan zone adjacent to it. And then clearly when the cyclists go off, a lot of that backup will go on the route with them, but some of it will move across to an area somewhere around the finish, which might be Darwall Street, possibly. Indeed, the town hall itself, as in the venue, the town hall might be the media centre, for instance. So we're looking at that. So yeah, that's where everything happens before the race starts, Arboretum.
It's also a good point in regards to, which I forgot to raise earlier on when we were looking at audiences, is the timings, of course, that, you know, there's lots of things we can do with the schools if there's schools along the route. But keeping in mind that there will be an awful lot of people throughout the whole day, but later on in the afternoon, you will get another influx from kids and families, you know, finishing school, parents finishing work early to pick the kids up and going through to the festival village. So it's very much keeping in mind a full day of hustle and bustle and activity.
Yeah. Stuart's mentioned Dan Martin, who's a top-end professional male cyclist who went to school in Walsall. One of the things we're looking to do there is, because he's probably going to be involved in races on the days, whether we can collar him, perhaps if he's at the men's tour of Britain or whatever, to do a video. But it might be, you know, who else is there out there that people are aware of? Obviously, Ellie Simmons from a swimming point of view. There might be other athletes locally that it's worth us, again, showcasing as part of this. Even though this is cycling, it's about that active, healthy, and that inspiration that I talked about earlier about, you know, who wants to be or who can be the next whatever it may be. So if people have got any thoughts about who might be useful to showcase there, again, please just either send the details through to us and we can pick that up.
Yeah, what I'd like to do is to capture very short messages from them that we push out through our social media in the run up to the event. Hi, my name is so and so. I'm really excited. It's great that Walsall's going to host the race, and then we can. What I'd like to have, ideally, if we could find a sponsor, is a very large screen in somewhere in the centre of Walsall that screens the whole event live. So when people come for the start, they'll stay for the finish because they can watch the race in Walsall and go and get a cup of coffee and do a bit of shopping and what have you. So, but sorry, very quickly, one thing I did forget to mention, but I was hoping to show you some artwork, but it's not ready yet. The whole marketing campaign around the race particular, I mentioned We Are Walsall as the sort of overarching campaign that we're going to run going through, but for the race specifically, we wanted something that reflected our heritage, our cycling heritage and our manufacturing heritage, but was also a call to action for people to get involved and get on board. So the slogan is Saddle Up. And the imagery is going to be based around 1930s posters. Yeah, that you know, that very stylized look that you get. So it's going to look a little bit historic and quirky, but hopefully something that people would actually want a copy of and stick on their wall. You know, that's the look we're going for. But Saddle Up is the call to action, and that's the slogan we're going to use.
Fantastic, John. And actually on that note, Alyssa, I know in some of the meetings we've had, we've talked about the fact that we'll be calling out for volunteers. So that's going to be all part of that slogan, I presume, John.
Yes, absolutely. Get up, you know, literally, let's mobilize. That's the idea. Yeah, we'll mobilize. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay. I don't think there's anything else in the chat unless I've missed anything. Please don't be shy to raise your hand, come on camera if you wanted to say anything.
There's a question about getting young people involved in music. Absolutely. It's a cultural event. It's a sporting action that's going on. The event is a cycling, but this is a cultural event for us in the same way that we're hoping to get some involvement in the cultural locations around the Commonwealth Games. And by the way, the Commonwealth Games roadshow wagon, we're hoping, will be in Walsall on that day. And yes, it's about more than just sport. Yeah.
Alyssa, is there anything else you wanted to say, or Simon, before potentially we wrap up a bit early?
Gosh, we have, haven't we? Now, I just wanted to thank everyone for their incredible inputs, for taking the time this morning. I know it's a big ask in people's diaries to have a big meeting like this, and you know the timelines as well, putting something forward, but some fantastic ideas already here. I'm really look forward to working with you all, and thank you so much.
Yeah, I'd echo that, Dee, in terms of thanks to everybody for coming along. Thanks for the, again, inspirational talks from people and ideas. You know, my call to arms that John's talked about there is, you know, almost you don't need permission from us to do something. Get on and do it. You know, great if people got ideas, but you know, often people have ideas that somebody else can do. You know, you guys are all doers. You're already either doing things that can be linked, as opposed to necessarily setting something up special for this, but it might be that as well. Obviously, with a number of the council colleagues, there are ongoing discussions internally with the council about, you know, how we use things we're already doing, like the A-Stars program that Shabina there talked about. You know, getting into the kids and the schools is going to be really key to that, and we've got programs that are already there, so it's about how we build on those existing things. So it's not necessarily about us having to start and do something new. You know, I think there's enough people around the table here and contacts of groups who've probably been really wanting to have a forum, a space, a place, a reason to do whatever it may be. So celebrating Walsall and everything that's great about Walsall, its people, its cultures, its history, and its future is, you know, is going to be really important. And I thank everybody for your time this morning, and I thank you even more for what you're going to do going into the event on the day and after.
Oh, Emmanuel, you're so full of energy. It's lovely. Thank you. Okay, guys. Well, there's never any harm in getting half an hour back in your diary. As I say, we will circulate the recording of this probably early next week now, as I said. But as everyone said, thank you so much for attending today. And yeah, we'll be in touch. Speak to us if you want to broker any conversations, and we can send out any information that you may be missing. Thanks, everyone. Lovely to see you all.